What's not to watch? They're the best at what they do, and I'm the best at what I do, and together it's like, it's on.
Is it the best?
Best there ever was. Best there is now. Best there ever will be.
And then when I walked down the street, people would have looked and they would have said, there goes Roy Hobbs. The best there ever was in this game.
In case some of you wonder who the best is, they're up here on this plaque on the wall.
You sure you're ready for this?
I'll do my best.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and the prom queen.
Here we are, boys and girls, the best soccer show on the North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV, live on a Wednesday night, as usual, with all systems go. Jason Davis, Jared Dubois, Mr. Dubois.
Yeah, all systems go, but I'm not sure it's full green lights. It's Wednesday night. If it's not Wednesday night with a live show that's going to be in and out. But right now, we're all go.
We are. Apparently, I sound like I'm underwater or something. I'm fine with that. It's whatever.
You sound like a AM radio kind of guy. Like maybe you get a little Lycus in you.
Oh, God, I haven't thought about that guy in forever. I was thinking I was thinking more like Coast to Coast.
Now, now you're speaking my language, sir. I love me some Coast to Coast. Art Bell.
Yeah, I was never a Coast to Coast guy, but I had a buddy who was a roommate for a while who was just obsessed with Coast to Coast. It was all a little too out there.
Coast to Coast is all about like everything that is the weird stuff you would see like in what's that tabloid News of the World.
News of the World, yeah. It's all Bigfoot and UFOs and stuff like that. That's what it is.
My favorite one is when they have the electronic paranormal activity, like when they record like on cassette tapes and you don't hear it at regular speed. If you slow it down, you hear ghosts talking in the room and stuff.
Yeah, the white noise stuff and like ancient aliens. Have you ever seen Ancient Aliens on the History Channel? That's Coast to Coast bread and butter right there.
Heard of it, but I haven't watched it. No, but there's nothing creepier than being like a late night like road trip at 2 a.m, on like a soulless interstate,
right?
And listening to that show.
And when they have one of those just whacked out guests, the ones that say they talk to
you start looking over your shoulder,
from,
like who's back there in the back seat with me?
We are here live on a Wednesday to talk soccer as usual. We will have Ivis Gullersep, Soccer by Ivis, in the second segment to talk about some things happening. A re-entry draft is top of the list. Lots of movement in MLS. Only a week after the MLS Cup, but this is how this league works. We're taking your phone calls. 201-430-2378 is the phone number. That's 201-430-BEST. And we are on Skype, Best Soccer Show, if you prefer to just do that direct Skype to Skype stuff. Twitter is Best Soccer Show. Hit us up on Twitter, and we'll get those in there as well. I think we got to start with just all this player movement, Jared. I mean, it's been one of those weeks where, like I said, directly after MLS Cup, we talked about it on Sunday. There's not, or I don't know when we talked about it, but there's not much time to kind of readjust and put in perspective the prior season because you got to move on and think about the next one. We've got an expansion team coming in next year, and Montreal they're wheeling and dealing. Jesse Marsh or whoever's running the show up there is making sure that they're going to be, I don't know, stockpiled, that they're going to get in the news every other day with something else.
You can't say they're not getting their money's worth from entertainment value so far, though.
They haven't even stepped on the field, and already
they're already entertaining.
They're already entertaining.
They're one of the only teams making a lot of moves, but unjustifiably so. Of course, they have to make moves. They have to come into existence. So, but I think the big moves happen since.
Go ahead. They have to come into existence. Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, they have to be born or something. I don't know. But it's a big move since obviously last time we talked a lot about Ching. The big move since then is, I think, the Davy Arnaud trade. Is that the bigger one, or is Donovan Ricketts the bigger trade?
I think Ricketts is a pretty massive trade. I mean, everybody knew, and you as a Galaxy guy were hinting that it was going to be Ricketts, right? I mean, that Josh Saunders was cheaper and he had played very, very well. There was no reason to get rid of Josh Saunders. So he was the guy that was going to be going was Donovan Ricketts. And they
without a doubt. He costs more, and if you figure you're pretty close even in terms of what they're giving the team results wise, so you're going to get rid of the more costly one, and honestly the older one as well. Not that Ricketts is showing his age in any way, but he's been a little bit more injury prone, and Josh Saunders is the younger, sexier girl.
Well, I mean, it's not like Saunders is a young pup necessarily. He's bounced around a little bit, but he's proven that he can play on an MLS level, and if you can get value out of that position, why not do it? I mean, if you don't have to overpay for a goalkeeper, don't overpay for a goalkeeper. I think New York just learned that lesson this year.
New York, yeah.
But I think let's run down Montreal's ins and outs. I mean, there's not much out because they haven't had guys, but they did make a couple of trades, so they do have a couple of guys in the out column. They signed Nelson Rivas. I think that was their first signing. Ubi Parapovic, we've mentioned him in the past. Let's see, they drafted all of those guys we ran down, Brovsky, Ching, and that's the scandalous, not scandal, but controversial situation with Brian Ching.
You gotta wonder how much longer is that going to hold out. It's
unresolved.
Is it a hostage situation?
Yeah, it's still completely unresolved. I mean, I want to talk to somebody, I guess in Montreal, and find out what's going on. I know that.
What do you make of Dominic Kinnear, though, coming out on Glenn Davis's show and saying that it was a mistake?
Well, I think he has to say that, right? I mean, the fan backlash has been pretty intense. He can't come.
But you put all your cards on the table then for Montreal.
Well, listen to this. Okay, so this is the quirk that comes out when MLS teams release their re-entry draft players. These are the guys that they either didn't pick up their options or they're out of contract, and they go into that re-entry draft. We're in year 2 of that after the new collective bargaining agreement, which is, it's not free agency, but it's kind of a way for players to move on within the league and get a little bit of a better deal. These things, their rights aren't held hostage by the team that doesn't want them anymore. Bobby Boswell is on the re-entry draft list. Houston didn't pick up his option, but they had just protected him in the expansion draft over Brian Ching. It's
weird.
What?
I don't get that at all.
Who's going mental down there in Houston? I don't understand how this is a well-run professional organization that just went to an MLS Cup final. How are they screwing that up?
What I don't understand is, did they have to have these rosters in simultaneously and just one's released a week later, or was this actually had to be in yesterday? Because if it had to be put in the same time, I understand how this happened.
Okay, but okay, but I don't think that's the case. I mean, we're talking about guys' contracts. We're talking about the team making a decision that they're not going to pick up Bobby Boswell's option year. Okay, so if they knew, I don't understand. Did they not know at the time of the expansion draft list, the protected list, that they weren't going to pick up the option? They hadn't made that decision yet. Shouldn't you make that determination before you issue your protected list? I don't know.
It kind of also comes down to, we talked about a bit last week. Are you rushing these teams a bit that make it all the way to MLS Cup when you force them to make a decision the next day?
I mean, I guess that's possible. I mean, they obviously had their minds on other things leading up to the day that the protected lists were due. So maybe that's what it is. If it's on Dom Kinnear to make those decisions, and as you said, he went on Glenn Davis's show in Houston and said, we made a mistake with Brian Ching. Maybe that's what it is. They were distracted. They were concentrating on trying to win a championship, and rightly so. And they just lost track of what was what when it came to contracts and protection lists and expansion lists and which guys they wanted and which guys they didn't. I mean, they can still...
The theme in the chat room right now seems to be that they think that Canetti's going to try to sign him before the Friday deadline.
Well, I mean, they can do that.
It's not going to matter.
Yeah, no, that's certainly within the possibility. That means, my understanding is that would mean, well, I don't know. I mean, you're right. They do have a window here. And this is why we have to kind of go over the rules of this new process, because this is all still pretty new. This is only year 2. And keep in mind, with the reentry draft list, the guys that are available to be drafted by other teams, these guys, I just completely lost my train of thought. It's throwing me for a loop. But there's a window there that they can re-sign these guys to, I guess, different contracts, lower contracts.
Well, I think the club still gets a right of first refusal, if I can remember correctly, right?
Well, up to a certain point. And okay, this is the point I was gonna make. Last year in stage 1, which is the first, there's two stages to this re-entry draft. In stage 1, 2 guys were picked by other teams. And I can't remember who they are. I saw Goff have them up somewhere. Guys that
wasn't Angel one of the first stage ones?
He was picked in the stage 2. He was picked after stage 1 was over. And this is what I'm saying. Like, we have to review. There are people, there are transaction geek people that are all over this. I'm still trying to get the rules up in front of me so I can say it right and not get this wrong. But it doesn't look like, if this is a repeat of last year, and why wouldn't it be, these guys are not wanted in a lot of cases, or they're not wanted at their salaries, which is the key thing.
I think that's the bigger thing.
That's the bigger thing. But if they're not wanted at their salaries, because stage one is basically you're taking the option that those players already have, that's on their contract now. So if somebody wants Bobby Boswell, if Houston does not re-sign him to a different contract, if somebody wants Bobby Boswell and they draft him in stage one, they have to pay him what he was due in that option. I'm sure that's a fairly large number. I don't know how you rate Bobby Boswell.
I think that was still DC money, and remember, in DC was Defender of the Year, so I'm sure he's getting paid pretty handsomely.
Well, I'm sure he's got a new contract since he ended up in Houston. I'm just saying that Bobby Boswell is an accomplished player, defensive player in this league. I'm sure he makes a good chunk of change. I don't know what it is. You said we want a Defender of the Year. That factors in. If nobody wants him at that level, I think he's still a decent player. Then they can, if he goes through and he's not drafted, then there's stage two, which is there are rules as to what kind of contract you can offer at stage two. Stage two, clubs may select players that are under contract, and those not under contract. If a player is not under contract, the drafting club will be required to make a genuine offer to the player within 7 days.
Only MLS would find a structure that's graded the same way as cancer.
Well, we talked about...
Is he stage one or is he stage two?
Oh, no. That's just not right, dude.
Sorry, it just doesn't sound right when you're saying it.
No, it does. Yeah, you got a good point there. Is that guy stage one? Oh, man. See, now you just brought us all down. I don't know. I don't think we're going to see a lot of movement out of this. I think you're going to see, we've already got a couple of trades. Robbie Russell's in D.C. Well, I think
good
that's
move for DC.
Good move for D.C. He wanted to be closer to his wife who works in D.C. And, I'm sure Real Salt Lake would like to keep him if possible. But if he wanted to move and D.C. was offering something that was of good value to Real Salt Lake, then why not accommodate him?
With Wingert, Russell, and Beltran, they were one deep at those outside wingback positions anyway. They can afford to give Robbie Russell up, and he's probably the more expensive of the three. Maybe Wingert a little bit more. Robbie Russell came from overseas to RSL, so I got to think that Beltran's probably the cheaper of all those.
Paulo Nagamura ends up in Kansas City, traded for.
Is that like for like right there? You think with Arno going and Nagamura coming in? Obviously, Nagamura's gonna be more defensive.
Yeah, I mean they're of. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's a pretty.
You're getting a bit of a leader there. I think. I don't know if you're getting the heart of your team like you had probably in Arno, and you're definitely. I don't think getting the offensive threat that Arno could be from time to time, especially from long range.
Well, talk about an upgrade for Paulo Nagamura. I mean, he goes from Chivas USA to Kansas City. It's a much better situation for him.
All of a sudden.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's playing for a contender, brand new stadium. Their own place. He's not a second-class citizen in his own building anymore. I think it's. I don't know. I think that I don't know if that makes Sporting a better team necessarily, but it certainly helps with the loss of Arno.
I posed a question this week. I mean, the Sporting Kansas City loses Jack Jewsbury last offseason. They lose Davy Arno this season. That's a lot of leadership that a young team has lost. You're going to need to find someone that can fill that void, and maybe they're hoping Paulo Nagamura can do that.
I'm sure he can. Yeah.
Nagamura, though, is he's got to not get ejected from every game. He's going to lead the team.
I think he'll be fine. Let's see what else. I mean, are there anything notable here that's happened in the last couple of days? This is what we're dealing with now. There's the
rumors from coming out of Portland right now. They're talking about signing a DP.
They are looking at a young DP from all of the rumors, and I think our sister,
like every other team around, they're looking to Colombia.
Yeah, our sister show, Soccer Made in Portland, which just launched on North American Soccer Network a couple weeks ago or a week ago, I can't really remember, has talked about this guy. This is not confirmed. I mean, Merritt Paulson is dropping hints, and everybody's following along with those hints. But everybody, it's pretty much assumed that it's Jose Adolfo Valencia, who's 19, plays for Santa Fe in Colombia. Excuse me. Wow, played on their U20 team in the World Cup, and comes from not only just a good pedigree, but is young and talented. Where I think we were talking about this before the show, it seems like MLS is dipping into Colombian waters for these young talented players. Fabian Castillo, Freddie Montero, obviously. I mean, and Columbia is just giving MLS is going to Columbia repeatedly for players. So it's
Torres in Philadelphia. I mean, there's a lot of, but this is why that rule was put into place a few months ago, where they did the young DP rule. They're trying to not make it a retirement league anymore. If you're going to spend money on a player, try to bring someone in that's young and exciting. Yep. I know they may not make the turnstiles move from a marquee factor, but if you get one of those Beckham, Keane, Henry type players, and you get another one of these young Montero type players, maybe the Valencia player that we're talking about here, you get a nice mix of stuff now that really shows that your team is evolving and moving forward, not just relying on players coming back to end their careers.
Right. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, Soccer by Ivis' Ivis Gullersepp will talk to us. We'll ask him about the Columbia connection probably. It's the Best Soccer Show. Don't go anywhere. Best Soccer Show, North American Soccer Network, back live on Wednesday evening. And with us on the line, Ivis Gullersepp, Soccer by Ivis, Fox Soccer. How are you, Ivis?
Hey, what's going on? How you guys doing?
Pretty good. We were talking to re-entry draft in our last segment. First and foremost, are there guys on this list that surprise you that they're there?
I wouldn't say any are really shocking. I think Bobby Boswell is the one that obviously caught people by surprise just because of how important he is to Houston's defense and coming off a really good year actually for him. So it was a little interesting to see him added there, and you kind of wonder what Houston's thinking there, what their logic is. Based on what Chris Kennedy tweeted, it sounds like they don't think it's over. They haven't necessarily cut ties with Boswell. It seems like maybe they're trying to negotiate something, work something out with him. But it was still a bit of a shock to see his name on there.
Let's just call it like it is. This list right here is about as attractive as a skinny Jonah Hill. There's no big names out there. There's no big fish. Like last year, JPA was out there. That was the big rumor. No team's going to make or break their season on the players they get in this draft, right?
Right. No, it's definitely a garage sale. I think that's the best way to look at it. You're not going to find $1 million gem like storage, like you might find in Storage Wars or whatever show you might see. I don't know if there's any of those in there, but I think there might be one or two players who in the second phase of the reentry might be good bargains, depending on what they can get negotiate, what teams can negotiate with them to bring their costs down. But I'd say looking at that group, I think for me Boswell is the one who stands out because he's a solid MLS center back, well above average center back, and then I think he could start for I think definitely more than half the teams in the league. So I think if you find a team that's willing to pay that money, and if Boswell is ready to make the move, I think he could leave. But based on what Houston's making a team like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he stays in Houston.
What do you make of the DC United just exodus of players they're putting out there, and some notable names in the DC's recent history with Santino Quaranta, Clyde Sims is out there. There's a lot of DC United players. Does this mean that DC United is going for an overhaul this season?
I think it's just an acknowledgement of what most people realize, which is that they've just been a terrible team for a few years now. I mean, if you think about the fact that Dwayne De Rosario had one of the best second halves in the history of the league, if not the best second half in the history of the league, and he still couldn't carry them into the playoffs when there was a 10-team field. And it just kind of shows you, what they had to work with there. So at a certain point, they had to, cut dead weight. And, when you look at some of the names on there that you mentioned, Santino Quaranta, he's just not, with the money that he's making, he's just not someone that you keep if you're not going to start him. And if you have Chris Pontius and Andy Nahar on your wings, where are you going to put him? You're not going to play him up top. There's no place for him. As for Clyde Sims, I think it's safe to say the Perry Kitchen era as in defensive midfield is going to begin in 2012, and as it should. He's a stud prospect, a great young player who they threw him out at right back, and he actually played a solid right back as a rookie, as a teenager. So it just shows you the quality that he brings. So it's just a numbers game, for some of those guys, and then for the rest of the players on that list, they just weren't good enough.
Last year, there were 2 guys selected in stage 1. I don't know the numbers in stage 2. It wasn't a lot of guys when you think about it. Are we looking at? I mean, you mentioned that I guess Boswell's the sexiest name in the whole thing. If that's the case, we're just not going to see a lot of guys picked up then.
Right. I wouldn't think so. Just looking at the names, I don't know how many necessarily bargains there are. I mean, just looking at it real quick, I think Jonathan Leathers is a player who I've always kind of liked, just, at the price that he's at, and what he can give you. I think he's somebody that's interesting. I'm not sure what his 2012 cap number is, but I kind of like him. And, even the Danley Borman, obviously from his New York days, I saw him quite a bit. And that's what he actually did all right in Toronto. And I don't think he makes that much money, so I was a bit surprised, that Toronto felt the need to cut ties with him. But as far as the established names, I think someone like Joe Cannon makes too much money. I don't think anyone's going to go for him in the first phase. Maybe in the second phase someone takes a run at him. That wouldn't shock me at all. So I think in those cases, in the second phase, you're going to see guys like him, guys like maybe Arturo Alvarez, who teams take a flyer on if they can get them to bring their numbers down, their 2012 salary cap figures down. I think some of those guys will definitely have flyers taken on them in the second phase. In the first phase, it's more bargains. It's more 1 or 2 guys, I think.
Bobby
Arturo
Convey.
Alvarez still has a few teams cards to punch, doesn't he? Before he gets everyone in the league. Or I wonder if he gets a free allocation or something like that if he gets 1 or 2 more teams on his punch card. I don't know.
Arturo's been around. Bobby Convey, a guy that someone will take a flyer on. You think he'll be okay taking lesser money to go somewhere else, get out of San Jose after that, suddenly kind of fell apart after he played so well last year?
I don't know. I don't think he has many other options at this point, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't get the sense that he's someone who wants to run around Europe grasping at, smaller deals just to be in Europe and not to be in MLS. I think he's at a point now where, if he can find the right team in the right situation, I think he'd be willing to take that lesser money now. I mean, I think he's made a pretty decent living during his time in Europe, and it's at a point in his career where he doesn't have any more options. So he's not going to make. I think he's just not going to make big money in MLS, and I don't know necessarily what he's going to find in England at this point in his career. So I think someone will take a flyer on him in the second phase just because, I don't know if it necessarily costs anybody anything to throw a pick at that point.
Right.
I think he'll be in the league. I think he's too good not to, and I think he's willing. I think at the end of the day, he'll be willing to take a pay cut.
In the first segment, we talked a bit about the rumors out of Portland right now that they're going to take advantage of that young DP rule, and maybe the player being rumored right now is Jose Adolfo Valencia from Colombia. Is that something that you're hearing as well, or you feel maybe going a different direction with that?
Well, obviously, Mayor Paulson threw the blood in the water on Twitter today.
He likes to do that. He likes to do that.
He's entertaining.
Oh, without question. I think him and Rob Heineman.
I was going to say, Heineman's the other guy. You got to follow Heineman and Paulson, whether you're fans of those teams or not.
Right. I mean, I think it's those guys are about fresh air, and it's great that they put that kind of info out there. I'm sure people who cover their teams' beats don't like it, but as fans, you can't help but appreciate to appreciate that. If it is Valencia, I think it would be interesting. It'd be interesting for me because I covered his father. And I got to know his father pretty well when he played with the Metro Stars, and he was a character to say the least. But his son is obviously loaded with talent, and I'm sure Adolfo Sr. Or Adolfo the father has good things to say about what can what you can get from coming to MLS, and if that is the player, I think it's a big score for MLS in general, just because it's showing that leagues in South America see the value in bringing and sending young players here, and that this is a place where players can be showcased. So if he comes here, I think he should provide an instant impact. I think he's going to be a better player, obviously, than Fabian Castillo, who came in with a lot of high press to Dallas. I think Valencia is the type of player who can be a star.
Well, what is it about Colombia, Ives? Because you mentioned Captain Fabian Castillo, Freddie Montero is here. If Valencia comes, what is it about Colombia and MLS?
That's a good question. I think maybe the early roots that the Colombian soccer had in MLS. When you talk about players like Valderrama and Valencia, I think that helped put the league in the eyes of Colombians, and it helped develop some ties, foster some ties. When you think about Leonel Alvarez now, the Colombian national team coach, played in MLS. So I think there's just that natural connection there, and I do think that up until recently, Europe hadn't quite tapped in fully into Colombia. So I think MLS maybe had that advantage where they were already had some ties in here. So I mean, obviously you can't compete with Europe financially. MLS can't do that, but I do think that the fact that there's those established connections, there are so many former Colombian players who from MLS who now have ties in the Colombian League. I think that's helping tremendously and has established these pipelines. And as long as these players keep coming here and doing well, and you see more success stories than failures, I think you're going to see the pipeline is going to continue. And with players like Montero and Olave and John Kennedy Hurtado, I think it's without question that it's been a success.
Ives, we can't have you on the show this week without talking about the big baby mama drama that's going on between Houston and Montreal right now. And we talked about a little bit in the first segment, but we want to get you to weigh in. When Dominic Kinnear goes on Glenn Davis's show, he admits basically that they may have made a mistake, and maybe a very big one at that. Isn't Houston putting all their cards on the table now and letting Montreal know how much they can maybe get for Ching?
Well, I tell you, I love Dom Kinnear. I think he's one of the best coaches around. I love those guys in Houston, but I definitely think that they. I didn't necessarily agree with their reaction to the whole Brian Ching thing. I mean, I think it was very presumptuous on their part to think that he wouldn't be taken. And it was almost as if they dared Montreal to take him. I mean, when you talk about Ching being quoted beforehand, I mean, I think that's not what you want to do. I think you put his name on the list and you hold your breath and you keep quiet and maybe he doesn't get taken. You don't put his name on the list and say, you better not take him, because, I mean, come on, that's just, I'm not saying that that's why Jesse Marsch did it, but I don't think that helps.
Right.
And if anything, it kind of it tips your hand, because it's pretty clear Houston wants Ching back. They still see him as the face of their franchise. They're opening their new stadium. They'd love to have him in uniform. So if anything, it just showed them that it showed Montreal that there's value there. And so Montreal could make the pick. And, as soon as, even before it happened, I was already tweeting that, it's going to be interesting if they do it, because, there's precedent for that. So, Houston can't be upset about it as much as they want to be, as much as they want to make it about Jesse Marsch and Bobby Boswell. I really do not think that Jesse Marsch, with his first professional head coaching job, is going to do something like spark a vendetta or get payback on a player he didn't like as a pro. I mean, I think it's pretty clear.
But don't you kind of hope he does?
They've been very tactical moves, and they've been very intelligent moves. And I think this is along those lines. It's a smart move, and who knows? Maybe it helps them get Andre Haino, maybe not. But I think at the end of the day, it's still a good value pick for them.
Probably worth the risk to take a shot at getting Haino, even if he's sitting there. Ching is sitting there. Why not take him? What do you make of Montreal's other moves to this point? Trading for Donovan Ricketts, a couple other things in that mix as well that I'm blanking at the moment. But Marsch's overall, Marsch's overall philosophy to this point, are we looking at a pretty strong expansion team from what you've seen so far?
Well, I'd say the early pieces that are being put into place are definitely impressive. I mean, Donovan Ricketts, for me, is one of the top goalkeepers in the league. I know he lost his job to Josh Saunders at the end of the season, but I'm still not convinced that Saunders is better than him. And I think before the Gold Cup, and when you looked at his play in the Gold Cup, I mean, it was hard not to consider Ricketts one of the top one or two goalkeepers in MLS. So, I think that's a huge score for an expansion team to have that as your anchor. You have your goalkeeper. You don't have to worry about him. He's going to be your guy. And then also, I think some of the other players aren't just Davy Arnaud and Justin Braun. For me, I think they were able to buy low on both those guys. Justin Braun didn't have a great year for Chivas. He had a couple of hat tricks, which obviously boosted up his stats. But I think he's better than what he showed in 2011. And I also think Davy Arnaud, with the injuries that he had, he wasn't able to show what he can do. But I think both those guys, when you talk about those three players and the group they added in the expansion draft, when we're talking about a guy like Zach Valentin and another young player like Colin Warner, I love the group that they brought in. And when I think back to the past expansion teams and what those teams did in like the first month of existence, I can't remember seeing a group or hearing a group that impress me as much as this current group from Montreal. They still have a long way to go. They have a lot of building to do, but just that the start they've gotten off to, you can't say it's not impressive.
So basically, they got the foundation of the Sunday there. Let's talk about the cherry on top that they might put on. What do you think for Montreal? Do they go for a DP? Do they go for one DP? Do they go for multiple? Where do you see them going on that front? Because it seems like that's what they're going to need to really put this team over the top. They have a really nice foundation, but where are they going to go?
Well, I don't think they're done dealing in MLS, obviously. I mean, that's, the whole Brian Ching Houston situation has to play out. They also have the number one pick in the draft in MLS draft, and I think it's a strong draft, so that pick definitely has value. So I think even before you talk about the international market, Montreal still has some steps to take and some pieces to add. As far as the international market goes, from what I'm hearing from my sources, they are definitely looking for a designated player, at least one. I know of a few players they've been in contact with and actually been negotiating with. I can't say any names. I know I teased people today with the whole Juan Agudelo tweet. I'm not trying to tease people with this, but I mean that is what's going on. So I know Montreal has that reputation, or Joey Saputo has a reputation in the past of being cheap. But I think he realizes that you can't do this on the cheap. You can't do MLS on the cheap. You have to get your big name player, your high profile European player. Maybe it's a French player, maybe not.
I was gonna say, is French the first language of these players that we're talking about?
I'd say at least one of them does speak French. I'll leave it at that.
Right.
So I think they realize they have to spend money. So I think I'd be highly surprised if they come out of this winter window without one marquee player that they can put on their billboards, that they can put in their ads, and to tell the people in Montreal and Quebec, look, here we are. And I don't think that player is Andre Hainault, but I mean I think he's definitely a player that they would love to have. Maybe they'll overpay for it. And I already threw it out there the other day that, wouldn't shock me if they put together this dream package to make Houston seriously consider it. If you're Houston, you have to think about a package that includes the number one overall pick, major allocation money, Brian Ching's rights. You have to think about it. I mean, Andre Hainault, I think he only has 1 year left on his MLS deal, so that's something else to consider. And the fact that Hainault, he was interviewed recently, and he gave the very politically correct but very telling answer of, it'd be amazing to play in Montreal, but I'm happy in Houston.
Right.
I think if anything, that's Hainault's signal to tell Montreal, hey, come and get me. I'd love to play for you. That's how I took it. I know he didn't want to, necessarily offend anyone in Houston, but I mean, if you're him, how do you not want to play in Montreal in your home area? And be a marquee player on that team. So I think that deal, I'm telling you, I think it's going to get done as much as Houston. It swears them down, it won't get done. I think that deal's going to get done.
Question about guys that are at least rumored that they could be leaving MLS. How about this? Let me ask you this first. Is Juan Agudelo on trial at Liverpool?
It's training stint.
Okay.
All these things are training stints.
Just checking.
Europeans just don't get the idea or the logic behind training stints, so they can't get their heads around it. Media just don't get it. They just call it all trials.
All right.
And you can say, sure, it's a trial. If Juan Agudelo scores 100 goals in training and makes, Pepe Reina and Martin Skirtle and everyone there look like idiots, and Dalglish decides, okay, I have to have this guy. Of course, then you can say it was a trial, but that's not the purpose of these stints. The purpose is for these players to get training time in a high-level environment. These teams, these clubs are doing MLS teams a favor, and they're also getting a look at some prospects. But it's the main purpose of these things in general are just to get them training. It's not to put them in the shop window. That really isn't the purpose. But I'm sure everyone's going to say, "Oh, it's trial, it's trial." It's everything I know. Agudelo is not going there on trial.
Well, let me give you three names right here. There's a lot of players training overseas. A lot of guys probably getting some attention. Obviously, the transfer window's coming up. If I give you three names, I want you to tell me who you think the most likely is that goes abroad on a move. Between Tim Ream, Brek Shea, and Omar Gonzalez, who's most likely to go overseas in your opinion?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I'd probably say Tim Ream. Believe it or not, there's interest there. For some reason, I still haven't figured out how he gets a UK work permit. I haven't gotten an answer to that one, but there must be something there with as many teams as there are that are interested in him. I think he's the one who's gotten the most attention. I don't think, from what I've heard, Omar Gonzalez necessarily is someone who teams are looking at for a move in January. And I don't think the Galaxy are looking to sell him at this point, to be honest. So I don't think he's going anywhere. And I don't think Brek Shea's going anywhere either. I think Dallas, he's gonna have him on a long-term deal. I don't think unless somebody comes in with a crazy offer, with a $10 million plus offer, I don't see him moving. And as of right now, as much as great as he looked in 2011, as many heads as he turned, I don't think he's at that point yet where he is drawing those kind of transfer offers. As much as there are all these rumors in the European media, I just don't think the offers are there that are going to get him, get Dallas to give him up or MLS to give him up.
We got about 30 seconds. Is anybody going to be sold in this winter window from MLS?
I think some players. I think a few players could move. I still say someone like an Omar Salgado, who is as young as he is. I think he's impressed on the youth national team front, and so there are scouts that love him. I think he can move. I don't think it'll be a player like a Brek Shea, a national team regular who moves. I think it'll be whether it's a really young prospect or kind of inexpensive guy, someone like a George John. I think could definitely move. He's going into the last year of his MLS deal. I think he absolutely could move in the winter.
All right, soccerbyivas.net, Fox Soccer, Ives Gullerstedt. Thank you very much for joining us, Ives. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
All right. It's the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Jason and Jared live on a Wednesday. Jason and Jared on the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network. NASN.TV is the web address where you can find us. We just got done talking to Ives Gullerstedt. Always good stuff there.
You can always call in right now, too, 201-820-53.
I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people that likes seeing American kids stay in MLS, American talent stay in MLS. I think it helps the league a lot. But I'm kind of itching for somebody to get sold. Why is that?
I think it brings attention to the league. That's why I always like it. And plus, I was complaining before, like EPL is the easiest league for me to watch on my couch. So
right. So if a guy's
going to
go
when an American goes over there, because I have a team to root for. I don't really have a team, So I like when I see Americans move overseas because I like to see where someone that has a bit of my blood in them, where they rank.
Do you know who does not have your blood? That would be the American blood that you're talking about. That would be the announcers for both ESPN. We know Ian Darke. Hey, he's great. He's Ian Darke. He's fantastic. And it's now been confirmed that Arlo White is the lead announcer for NBC. Their coverage starting next season. And look, like I said, I feel like I'm beating the dead horse, and I'm going to. I can't help it, Jared. I know you're ecstatic, and you should go throw a party. I might even come. And I like Arlo, and I think he's fantastic. I just think the message that we're sending now is that soccer is still a foreign sport. We can't get. I'm telling you, I'm not.
The message we're sending is that we're so secure in our product that it doesn't matter.
No, I'm not talking about you, and I'm not talking about me, and I'm not talking about anybody listening to this show.
I'm talking about you.
I'm talking about the message being sent. I'm talking the message is going out to anybody who flips by NBC Sports Network, whatever it's going to be called, or NBC when MLS is on, and they go, okay, they got a British guy, so this is definitely a foreign sport. I'm telling you, it's subliminal, even if they're not thinking it, out loud to themselves. Hey, look, it's a British guy. This is a foreign sport. It's in there. It's in their heads. I'm sorry, I can't let this go. I'm happy that they got a guy that knows MLS.
So you're telling me when I watch when the Olympics come to town, and every 4 years Olympics come, and I'm watching the gymnastics, and because Bora, what's his name, is the guy that they have, Caroli or whatever his name is. He's the guy that they have in the booth. I don't make a connection with the American team.
No.
BS, Jason.
But they have American voices. They have an American voice leading their coverage. That's all I'm saying. Arlo White is a fantastic announcer. Okay, he is a fantastic announcer.
Americans are way more confident than what you give them credit for. We don't. Why do we have to be our hands held?
It's not about that.
Get it.
It's not about that. It's just something that rubs me the wrong way. That says this is still a foreign sport in this country. That's all I'm saying. And we've been playing the game for as long as it's been around. Kids have been playing this game in massive numbers since the mid 70s. We've got all of these Americans that are, that have
Why not
played
embrace
World
the
Cups.
fact that it is a foreign sport?
Why would we want to do that? Well, why would we not want to make it an American sport so that Americans are interested in it?
Why do Americans have to make everything American?
I'm not.
I don't,
No.
I don't
I'm
get
not
that.
saying we're changing the game. I'm not
That's
talking
how
about.
we ended up with gridiron
I'm not
football.
talking-
We call it football still.
I'm not talking about clock rules. I'm not talking about strange penalties or strange overtime rules. I'm not talking about 30-yard one-on-one penalties or whatever those were. And then I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm not talking about fundamentally changing the game. I'm just talking about the wrapping, the part around it. I'm just saying this is an American league, and we have a lot of American players, and yet we still can't figure out how to get an American voice to call the game. I'm not saying NBC
We
should.
can figure out how to do it. We've done it, and guess what? It's kind of sucked.
No, they're not everybody. I'm not going to bring up the same names. Not everybody.
But you and I both know that we could drop names right now that have been absolute tragedies.
No, I
that
know.
have
Quit
American
hitting
names,
your mic.
American voices behind them.
Quit getting excited and hitting your mic. I might as well drop this now. We are scheduled to interview Arlo White this weekend, so I will put myself out there and I will ask him what he makes of my opinion in this situation. I don't blame Arlo for taking the job, and I really don't blame NBC for hiring him because he is good and because he knows this league. But I'm telling you, there isn't you don't think that in the boardroom when NBC Sports was talking about putting their coverage together for MLS next year, that they didn't say, I think we need a British guy. I think we need an accent. Do you think
I
that?
think they said, you know what? Let's listen to what the
I
fans
guarantee
are saying.
you it
who
came
they
up.
say is the
No.
best person in the league,
You're
and that's who they
killing
went
me.
out and got.
No, I don't. You think that NBC?
You tell me if there was a
sourced
poll
this.
on Twitter right now of the best play-by-play guy already existing for an MLS team, who would they
Do you know?
pick?
Okay, but here's the problem. NBC should.
Oh, don't answer my question. That's right. Go around it.
No, they would pick Arlo White, but the problem is
Okay.
that those people
They're
are.
giving the fans what they want.
Those people are already watching the games. If NBC is going to grow their ratings from what ESPN and Fox Soccer got, they're going to have to get people who are not already watching. Those people don't care about Arlo White. They don't know who Arlo White is. Or if they do know who Arlo White
You're
is,
saying they need to appeal to the soccer moms, which we've always
No, I'm
said
not talking about
that
soccer
the
moms.
direction
I'm not
that
talking about
MLS
soccer
needs to
moms.
not go.
I'm not talking about soccer moms. They're probably appealing to all the Euro snobs. That's probably what
There
they're
you go.
doing.
There you go. Producer Teller just said, "Are you even watching NBC?"
Look, I'm counterpointing because I think it's important. I like Arlo White. I know this is hard.
Counter-punching, actually.
This is hard
Like
for people to
stick and move.
understand that I can both like Arlo White and enjoy listening to him call a game, and
Well, let's give it up for
and
listeners
think
too.
that we need
Where
Americans.
The interviews this Sunday. If you got a question you want to ask Arlo about this topic, this is your chance. We'll see
Yeah.
if we can read some of your questions.
The
on
questions
the
are going to be: is Jason Davis an idiot? That's the question they're going to ask. And that's-
No, nothing like that.
Look, this is a topic that I've been covering for 3 years since I started blogging about soccer.
I
is
think
that
you're
we
worried
s-
Arlo's gonna dilute your potential to one day be a
No,
play-by-play
I don't,
guy in America.
I don't want to be a play-by. I've never tried to be a play-by-play guy. If I was going to be a play-by-play guy, I'd start dressing English and throw on an accent because I would get a job easier.
Oh God.
I'm just saying.
ridiculous.
Look, I'm just saying. This is the one thing that we
that's
should
why I'm
mention.
glad we're gonna have Arlo on, because that way I can crush on him.
Sure, you can crush on him, and I'll be the guy that says, "Hey."
Tries to have journalistic integrity, and I'll be the guy on that side.
No, it's not.
hand-holding.
It's not really. This has nothing to do with journalistic integrity because journalism isn't about having an opinion. I have an opinion on this
That's true.
topic. That's it. I want Americans to fully embrace soccer, and I just think that almost 20 years into this league, that it's weird that we're still relying on accents to I don't know, dress it up a little bit. And we do have an email on this topic, and it speaks directly to what I'm talking about here. Bill is on your side. Bill says, the past couple shows have featured a discussion on the paucity, nice word, Bill, of quality American play-by-play and color guys. I have to say that Arlo White is a perfectly fine choice for me as the voice for NBC soccer coverage. None of the Americans I've heard to do play-by-play or color have the timing and rhythm that Dark, White, and Tyler do when calling the game. Do you know why they have that timing and rhythm? Because they're English,
Why is
right?
that?
Because they're English, because they have the accent.
Because they're good at their jobs.
Okay, I'm not saying they're not good at their jobs, but I'm just saying that now American soccer fans have trained their ears to only accept, not only all cases, but a lot of them have trained their ears to only accept English accents as authentic, or British accents. There's some Scots doing it too.
Would you be satisfied if they put an American with him in the booth?
I know they're going to. They're going to have an American analyst. I'm almost positive. I think
does that make you happy though? Does that make it enough for you?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, if we can't get an American in the analyst chair, we have a real problem. We have a serious problem. If MLS is being called by, say, Arlo White and, I don't know,
Adrian
Steve
Healy?
McManaman, well, they're not going to fire Ray Hudson. Yeah, well, okay, Ray Hudson's coached in MLS. He's been around forever. Maybe
so
that would
if you've been indoctrinated with America, it's okay. Your voice can be on the air.
No, I'm just saying that it would take the sting out of my argument if it was Ray Hudson. Yeah. Anyway, back to Bill's email. Additionally, I don't think they have the same chops as wordsmiths that other guys do. I have grown up listening to Vin Scully and the late great Chick Hearn call games in their respective sports and haven't heard an American who can match them in soccer. It's a different sport, but okay. Aside from having poor rhythm and the inability to turn a phrase, the Americans I hear doing soccer also lack a voice that you want to listen to. An accent isn't required, but some people do have voices you just want to listen to, e.g. Morgan Freeman and James Earl Jones. I know an American.
Darth Vader.
I know an American can do it, but I haven't heard that person yet. Come on.
Who wouldn't want to hear Darth Vader call a game? Come on.
It's not okay. Look, the quality of somebody's voice is obviously part of the deal. And I'm not saying that you go and grab a great American announcer from another sport and plug them into soccer and expect it to work.
If that was the case, Dave O'Brien would have worked great.
Sure. Dave O'Brien. Well, I mean, Dave O'Brien is a middling announcer for me, but
he's got a good voice, is what I'm saying.
Okay, look, if you couldn't pull Dave Shulman off of baseball and stick him in soccer and have it work, and I think Shulman is probably the best American calling sportsman right now.
Great example of a regular American sports. A great American sports voice that has come over to soccer and done very well, Bob Lee. Obviously, he's not doing games, but I think Bob Lee has done a great job as an American voice covering soccer for ESPN at the World Cups.
Sure. No, I agree with absolutely. I love Bob Lee. I think he brings gravity to the situation, gravitas, whatever you want to say, to soccer coverage in the United States that we don't get with, say, no offense, Rob Stone or Max Bretos. It just doesn't come with it.
No. Bob Lee is just he's a pinnacle of what he does. He's very good. He's a Bob Costas kind of level, I think, but I don't think Bob Costas could pull it off. I really don't. Bob Lee comes from a place of sincerity when he watches it. You get the feeling that he really cares about the game and he enjoys the game, and he's not shy about admitting that he comes to it from an adopted place where he probably didn't grow up playing it like you and I did, and it came about naturally for us. And honestly, at times we had to work really hard to even be a fan. But that's where I enjoy about it. So I do enjoy that there is American sensibility. It doesn't have to be I've been soccer since day one. I played since I was 5. There's a place in the American sports casting universe for a person that just gets into it late. And I think you could say that for people that don't like him, Bill Simmons, I think, kind of does that. I know he goes back and forth. A lot of people get rubbed the wrong way by Bill Simmons, but I think he does a very good job of approaching the game from a casual American standpoint of an adopted fan.
Right, and those people, they tend to like the British accents, right? They tend to like the English accents.
Possibly, but they're also in the majority. We established that already.
No, I okay, fine. So what
for the established soccer fan, you're worried about losing the casual or the
no. That's what it comes down to. Now that I'm thinking about it, you're probably going to attract more casual people who are actually interested in soccer a little bit, but wouldn't pay attention to MLS. Those people are probably going to be attracted by the English accent. So from a marketing
the EPL game that was on
from a marketing
Cup.
You mentioned Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons claims to be a Spurs fan. Who knows if he actually is at this point? But that's the team he decided on. He doesn't watch MLS. He calls it, minor league soccer that he has no interest in because it's not the top. That's the other American attitude is we have to watch the best. So he's only watching English soccer if he's watching soccer. And so if he does flip by an MLS game, he probably would say, oh, look, it's an English accent. That makes the game feel more authentic for me. And that's what rubs me the wrong way. This idea that American soccer can't be authentic. I think that's the basic thing that's driving me insane. Like I said, I get why Arlo White got this job, and I'm from a individual standpoint, because I'm already bought in. I'm already committed to this. From my standpoint, it's going to be fun to listen to Arlo White. I think the message is there that Americans aren't authentic when it comes to this sport. That's it.
It'd be interesting to talk to him on Sunday. I hope we get a chance, and I'm sure Arlo's going to be very, very. He's always very, I think, honest in the way he answers his questions.
Should we pour something out for the Seattle fans that lost their local guy?
I feel bad for him, But also interesting. The interesting thing about Arlo is that a guy that comes to America through football, American football, ends up calling soccer in the country that he came to cover our sport. It's just interesting to me.
Yeah, he's done a lot of American football, beaming it back to England, and now he's calling soccer in America for an American audience. There's rumors that they're going to replace him with a Brent. I saw that from I think Jeremiah O'Shan or something. Rumors that they're going to replace him with a Brent in Seattle. I just think that's
if you're
going
to talk about it. I know, but if you're going to talk about NBC, we should also talk about the fact that they're going to be streaming. How cool is that?
I caught that today in the press release about Arlo White. I didn't know that. I mean, I'm guessing
I hadn't heard that anywhere. It's odd to just throw it in a press release like that because that's a pretty big story on its own.
I think they said somebody, Jonathan Tannenwald, who writes for Philly.com and covers soccer, the goalkeeper on Twitter. Follow him if you're not. He said it was part of the original deal, and that wasn't the Easter egg, as he called it in the press release, and that the Easter egg was that NBC added an extra game somewhere, 50 instead of 49 or something, which is, that's good too. But I thought the big thing was the streaming, because I'm excited. I mean, I might not have that. I might not sign up and have Versus or NBC Sports or whatever in the future. So if I can stream
I think a lot of us are wondering because it doesn't really exist for us right now. So I think it probably allayed a lot of people's. Oh, you hate it when I say that word.
It's
allayed a lot of people's. It's just the way I say it. I allayed a lot of people's fears about. Obviously, number one, Silverlight was always an issue. Are they going to have the NBC Sports channel? At least they know that there will be an outlet that hopefully that they can get their games on, and it's a medium that soccer fans are already used to in this country. Streaming. It's how we live.
Right. All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll close out this episode. It's the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. And don't go anywhere, Jason and Jared. We'll be right back. Jason Davis, Jared Dubois, best soccer show, North American Soccer Network. We're going to close this one out on a Wednesday, working hard. Wednesday, November 30th, 2011. See, I knew the date right off the top of my head because it's the last day of the month. Because of the last day of the month. It's the only reason.
Because you get paid tomorrow?
No, I get paid on Friday, but no, I just because it's the last day. Like, it's the 30th. I don't know. Just stuck in my head.
I always know when the first it was when I was in college because the rent was due.
In addition to talking to Arlo White this weekend, we also have scheduled an interview with Phil Rollins, who happens to be the owner of Orlando City FC, or SC. I'm sorry, they go with the SC, which I kind of like. They have had some meetings with MLS. We'll have to see what we can talk to Phil about around that and about soccer in Orlando, and that city
soccer
as a market.
Soccer in Florida in general, let's be honest.
Soccer in
Florida is a hot topic.
Orlando as an expansion candidate, thumbs up, thumbs down, not sure yet.
And I don't know. Orlando's maybe the only place that MLS hasn't tried yet, so maybe you just gotta put a pin in that. And
in Florida, you mean that's the place they haven't tried in Florida?
It's got everything 1996 MLS longed for. Disneyland, kids,
right?
I mean, wholesomeness.
Fanny
got
packs.
Everything that '96 wanted, but doesn't have a place in 2011.
Yeah, I could dig on some Orlando City fanny packs.
Hey, don't get me wrong. If they get into the league and All-Star Game is there and we go do a live show, I'll go to Disney World. I've never been there.
They've got that preseason tournament down there. I got invited to it last year, wasn't able to make it, but all expenses paid if I remember correctly. Just wasn't able to make it. How sad is that?
We had an email this week that asked if you and I had ever met.
Yeah, we did. No, it has not happened yet. We are a bi-coastal.
Two souls
we are
separated
a
by a
podcast.
chasm of a continent.
And we're working on some things for next year, early next year, to try to get out amongst the people and do a show. So
are you gonna give me a hug? Like, will it be a hug or a shake? I don't want a hug on a shake. You're a hug on a shake, and it's really awkward. Like, you go up to give a guy a hug, and you get poked in the sternum by his hand.
No, you do the shake one-armed hug. I mean, that's the move.
No, sometimes you think you're on a hug level, though. You think you're on a hug level, but the other person's on a shake level still.
Okay.
So you get that awkward like shake thing when you go in for the hug.
You just have bad nonverbal communication if that's happening to you, because you're just not giving a clear signal.
Hug too many people. That might be my real problem.
That might be your problem.
Touching is a problem for me.
All right, we're going to close this one out. We should mention, if you want to leave a question for Arlo White on our voicemail, there's a chance we'll play it for him and maybe we'll answer it. 201-43. Why did I start talking about the phone number without having it in front of me? 201-430-2378. If you leave a voicemail, if you call while we're not on the air, you'll get the voicemail. Leave it. We'll play it at some point. I think we had one tonight that I completely spaced on. What was that in reference to?
I've already forgotten.
I don't know. We don't have time for it this evening. We will play
not
it
that
on
it's
Sunday.
not important.
No.
I'm bad at my job.
On occasion, we won't get to stuff. Please go sign up for the feed on iTunes, video and audio. Leave us some reviews and some ratings. That helps us out a lot. Jared,
now we got our video stream up again. Hit us up on Roku as well. Blip TV. You can get us on Roku.
That's right. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to Ivis Gullerstedt for being our guest this evening. Everybody, we'll talk to you on Sunday. Later.